Welcome back to Learning Guitar with Demoz School of Music. Your teacher is Tony Doss, celebrated guitarist and professional musician with 2 decades of experience. If you missed the previous 2 videos on playing the song, Summer of '69, go ahead and watch now. You're sure to find it quite interesting.
Hi, this is Tony from Demoz School of Music, and I'd like to welcome you back to our series on how to play the guitar for beginners. Today we're going to cover a variation of something that we've already done, and this is another major scale, not the C major scale this time, but the G major scale. And also we're going to learn how to play the G major scale across all 6 strings instead of just within the span of one G to the next G, which is also called an octave. So let's see once again where we start. We start from the G note here on the low E string. This is the 3rd fret on the low E string. And the notes of our G major scale, if you remember from before, are G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, and G. So what we've learned in a previous lesson was that we're playing frets 3 and 5 on the low E string, frets 2, 3, 5 on the A string, frets 2, 4, 5 on the D string. So let's continue this onward and up our frequency range till we reach our high E string. And let's see what fingering we can use to play the G major scale. So once again, 3, 5 on the E string, 2, 3, 5 on the A string, 2, 4, 5 on the D string, 2, 4, 5 on the G string, 3, 5 on the B string, and 2, 3, 5 on the high E string. Now again, the G technically stops here. We're playing the last G note here, but we are playing this extra A note because it's part of the G major scale, and it's just for us to know how far it can extend within this one certain position. So let's play the whole thing now from low E to high E. Let's play it in reverse. And that is the G major scale across all 6 strings. Now, if you were paying attention to what I was doing with my right hand as well, I was trying to alternate pick all of these notes. And that simply means with every subsequent note I was playing an opposite stroke on the pick. I was playing a downstroke, and then an upstroke, and a downstroke, and an upstroke. I went 1 note back here to F sharp, but it's still part of the G major scale, so don't worry, we're not making any big mistakes here. So now in trying to play this scale with alternate picking, you might notice something, that we're playing different numbers of notes on different strings. On some different strings, it's mostly 3 notes on each string, but some of the strings have only 2 notes. So what this can do is, especially as beginning players, it can kind of throw our right hand into a small state of confusion because there's no uniformity across the whole ascent and descent from our low string, our low E string, to our high E string. It's not entirely uniform. And so from string to string, we have to keep changing things around. I'll show you this by calling out each down and up stroke that I'm playing. Down, up, 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 down, up. So that becomes kind of difficult to break into segments or break into smaller chunks that we can remember and compartmentalize and kind of pull out of our bag of tricks or repertoire or vocabulary, if you want to call it, strictly picking vocabulary. So what we can do here to make this a little bit easier on ourselves is to kind of regularize what we're doing across a fixed number of strings. But how do we do that? On the guitar, it's fairly simple. We come up with another way of playing the major scale, which is not using any different notes. It's using all of the same notes. But now what we're doing is we're going to play a fixed number of notes per string. In this case, we play what's called 3 notes per string, or a 3-note per string scale, which simply means that on each string we're playing 3 notes instead of a mixed up combination of 2 and 3 notes. And what that does is it makes things a lot more regular for our right hand. So we start to find that this exercise becomes a little easier to navigate from our low strings to our high strings. Let's see what this means. We might have to learn a slightly different shape from the one we learned just now. So that might not have been immediately visible how it makes things easier for the right hand, but you might have seen how we were repeating some patterns here on the left hand, which is not always the case, but very importantly, we were playing only 3 notes per string. So what that means now for the right hand is that our right hand can now break this down into smaller segments. We can learn how to play across string pairs and then repeat that right hand motion for the next string pair and then the next string pair. So what does that translate to? Down, up, down, up, down, up. So that's playing 6 notes across 2 strings. And then we repeat the same pattern for the next 2 strings. Down, up, down, up, down, up. 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 So this helps break down the scale into small chunks of 6 notes of a fixed right hand pattern. Down, up, down, up, down, up. It's strictly alternating, and you can break it into that pattern and apply the same thing across each pair of strings. So now what is the fingering that we're using? What are the frets that we're playing for the G major scale here? We're playing 3, 5, 7 on the low E string, 3, 5, 7 on the A string, 4, 5, 7 on the D string, 4, 5, 7 on the G string, 5, 7, 8 on the B string, and 5, 7, 8 on the E string, on the high E string. So therefore that gives us so this is so we've learned 2 things now. We've learned how to play the G major scale across all 6 strings, and we've learned how to play the G major scale across all 6 strings with a slightly different, slightly more symmetrical pattern, symmetrical and more uniform for the right hand. So this is, we can try to go between these 2 and find which one we're more comfortable with. Some of us might not be comfortable with the larger stretches required for the 3-note per string pattern. And that's fine, especially now at this beginning stage, we still have to make our hands a little bit more flexible. So this is something we can slowly try to work at. And ideally, in the long run, we want to learn how to do both. Because it is necessary to be able to navigate the string changes with unusual patterns, unusual picking patterns or uneven picking patterns, 3 notes on one string, 2 notes on the other string. It's very common, and we should be able to learn how to do that. But for us as beginners now, this is a great way to make our way across the fretboard. It's even, it's uniform, it makes the job a little easier for our right hand and for our brains. And so once again, this is how we can do the G major scale across all 6 strings in 2 interesting and yet slightly different ways. So I hope you enjoyed today's lesson. I hope you learned something interesting about the G major scale, and in truth all major scales. We can apply this to all major scales. So if you did, please do like and share this lesson, and please do subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next lesson.